Welcome to the Transition to Changes Mission Podcast Show with your host, King Summers.
And your host, Queen Summers.
Yes, my people. Thank you for tuning in to the best podcast show and the most realistic show in the podcast world. Thank you for tuning in. We cannot thank you enough. We really appreciate that. So, you are in on the trip tonight. We got the current event. We got all kind of things that we're going to discuss about the future of what's the next show.
So, what is the topic for tonight, King?
Homeschooling, going back to work. And on the second half, we got that single parent. These topics are hard-hitting current events. Single parenting, that's been around for a minute, but we got a dialogue to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some more of this homeschooling to help people embrace change.
That's right. And we have a review from Janet H. in Manhattan, New York. She says, Transitional Changes Mission. Let me tell you how the last few months have been for my family. The first few weeks of school and business closures were jaw-clenchingly stressful. I am self-employed and work full-time from home already, so that part required no transition. But I needed to use this flexibility to ensure that my husband, who would normally have been at his job, didn't miss a meeting, call, or email while I managed the remote learning curriculums of our two children, one in pre-K and a baby. I compensated by working until about 2 a.m. each night. 3 weeks later, our marital work balance stress evaporated as my husband was put on furlough. He took over homeschooling and basically everything else as I became the sole breadwinner, trying to work as hard as I could at every hour. Last week, he was fully laid off. Despite our own financial strain, we've continued to pay the nanny who used to help shuttle the kids around while we work. Even though she hasn't worked for us since March. Even if we asked for her help in homeschooling our children this fall, who would do so for her school-aged children? When will my husband be able to look for work? How can he go back to work if there's no one to watch the kids? And I speak from a position of significant privilege. We were until recently a two-income family with savings, paying for more than the minimum of child care hours that we needed each day just to cover what-ifs, living in one of the most expensive cities on earth. We have laptops, tablets, Wi-Fi, and didn't think twice before panic ordering pencils, papers, markers, and anything else we thought might help our child. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you for writing that message to the world, and thank you for letting us start our show out with that example of, I might say, about 80 to 70% of families going on in this nation, in America, in the world probably.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Homeschooling, King, is legal in many countries. Countries with the most prevalent homeschooling movements, they include Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and the United States. But globally, almost 40 countries have banned homeschooling or have restrictive laws. There are a number of European countries where homeschooling is illegal. That's the Netherlands, Germany. Actually, homeschooling has been illegal in Germany since 1919. And Spain is the number amongst these countries. And Sweden's regulation of homeschooling is so stringent, it is perceived as a de facto ban. But research suggests homeschooled children tend to do better on standardized tests, stick around longer in college, and do better once they're enrolled. They have a 2009 study which showed that the proportion of homeschoolers who graduated from college was about 67%, while among public school students it was 59%.
Wow. And yes, my queen, thank you for touching up on that. One thing I can say about that, of Janet saying this message to the world and giving people examples of the hardship of how change has made things difficult for families or single people.
Mm-hmm.
Change is beautiful. It's got a lot of avenues that can say, like, it got fear inside of it. It got mind state complications. It got all the ups and downs of emotions. But at the end of the day, to where humans has evolved, and when we look back at the past, we all evolved off of change. I would use that example to say we must come together, unite together in this world, not by a vaccine, not by a mask, not by staying 6 feet apart, but by understanding how this energy works and becoming unite. Positive energy can defeat anything. Diseases, virus, problems, everything. Positivity can defeat all. Once we unite, there will be a more embracing of change, which is leading on this topic that I'm very influenced to talk about tonight with my people and get people to write in on maybe about what I'm going to speak about on my opinions or my advice or my queen wife. We embrace all messages and outreach to Transitional Changes Speaks at gmail.com. Or you can
Transitional Changes Mission.wordpress.com. But you know what, King? I resent articles that view the struggle of working parents this year because it's like talking about them as an emotional concern. Like, we are not burned out because life is hard this year. We are burned out because we are being rolled over by the wheels of an economy that has bafflingly declared working parents inessential. Do you feel that way?
No, I'm going to put it in a different perspective from my mind state, how I look at it. And hopefully what I'm about to say could help other people to embrace this change. From what I'm about to say is that I understand what Queen Wife is asking me about to the fullest, but I look at everything as an opportunity. And every change to me is an opportunity. And with this opportunity, our family was forced into this change out of nowhere. I would say about 90% of the whole world was shocked about where COVID came from, how it got to be to where it is in this world, and among everything. Why is it making things so complicated? Mm-hmm. So I would say that the hardship of working and schooling, like I explained in the last show, 10 pounds of negativity will not outweigh 1 gram of positive. So when this change came upon my family, I will use my family as an example and try to keep it as realistic to most people out here. My family went through this hardship of this change mentally and physically, even to this day. But it strives to me when every day I wake up and have the opportunity to help my child learn schooling or being at home with my wife and spending more quality time with my family. That is a positive thing to me. I hear the complaints about that, and some days I might have complaints about it. But every time I look at that smile on my daughter or have that memory of her smiling off of learning how to do her ABCs, helping her learn how to write, doing basically all the preschool teachings among me and my queen wife. I'm saying that to my people is when you're going through this change, look at the 1 grain of the positivity of it. Everything got to have positivity in it. That's the only way that it evolved into what it is now. With this change, I asked myself by looking at news media or being out in society, a lot of people is not embracing this change.
Well, that's one question, King, that I'm seeing a lot of people saying, why aren't you enjoying the extra quality time with your kid? It lays bare what is really simmering below the surface. It's a retrograde view that maybe one parent, meaning the mom, shouldn't be working, that doing so is bad for children, that it's selfish to pursue financial gains or solvency, as working parents will tell you. It is a sentiment so deeply woven into our culture's psyche that making the reasonable suggestion that one shouldn't have to abandon a career or a livelihood if offices reopen before schools, daycares, and camps is viewed as a chance to redeliberate this. It is not. I've heard from parents who have the luck of a grandparent who can swoop in, or the deep pockets for a full-time nanny or a private tutor for their child when schools are closed. That all sounds inviolable, but it would be absurd to let policy be guided by people with cushioning. If you have the privilege to opt out of the workforce and wish to, enjoy it. But don't wield it as a stick to poke others with, because far more people are being forced to opt out this year and will never professionally or financially recover.
And yes, my queen, I appreciate you saying that, because that is what needs to be discussed. I do not want to be misconstrued, neither my Queen Summers or me, King Summers. But that is great to have this discussion about that, because lately I have been getting frustrated. I would like for the people that feel my frustration after I explain it to write back to us, or even walk around contemplating about what I'm about to explain. And what I'm about to explain is that the frustration is seeing or having a concept of, is life more money, currency, more important than life itself? Or the normalcy of the past is more important than life itself today? That's period. That's what I get frustrated on, by seeing these fallen soldier, hero teachers, doctors, nurses,
absolutely,
city bus drivers,
yes,
all the essential workers, all are in a midpoint where I feel like leaning to saying I understand the need of the essential workers. Yes, it does benefit my family. They are the heroes. I even will carry it as far as this. Due to this pandemic, and these heroes have stepped out through different types of reasons. Maybe it could have been finance. Maybe sometimes I have seen it look like they have been forced. They need a memorial.
I agree.
Or a memorial, just like the Vietnam vets.
Yes.
Just like all the fallen soldiers of all the wars being.
The fallen soldiers of the COVID.
Yes, they need that, because they truly, it's not all about finance. Some teachers have went back to work because they love teaching kids. Even now, I got another show coming up to talk about that. Discussion about the conflict of decisions or choices that needs to be made.
And you can send that to tcmissionspeaks@gmail.com.
Yes, my people. And seeing these people doing these things, my heart goes out, and from transition to change this mission to these essential workers. But when I see some, like for instance, the state, I'm not going to announce the state because I don't, like I said before in many episodes, do not want to pull out no negativity on no individuals or no states or no city or no corporations or nobody. This show is a family-friendly podcast show that promotes unconditional love to everybody and trying to bridge the gap of communication. From when I see, or I might be misperceived or feeling that person was forced to go to work. From a state that I was looking at, the teachers made a board, and most of the teachers on that board did not want to go back to work. Taking in consideration, even taking in the debate about the parents saying that they need this, even with the debate of President Donald Trump saying this economy is going to collapse, all that is still people, when it boils down to your life, how far will you go with what you love, what you need, and how you will get it? If you put it on a scale, and I even seen on the news with those teachers, by face, their body language was saying they was fearing for their life. Young, mid-age, seniors, all of them.
Right.
And when I heard the story of a senior promoting that on the news, then they go teach at that school, and 2 weeks later they pass away. That is a fallen soldier that has fallen to try to do what's needed for whatever reason that they have.
Right.
But when I see the community, or when I see the board, the school board come up and they just tossing it out the window,